The CCTV motel room murder no one can explain. A locked room, a single bullet, and a man who swears he slept through it all. The locked door. It was just past 2:15 a.m. when the night clerk at the Rosewood Inn noticed the sound. A sharp, metallic crack that sliced through the hum of the vending machine in the lobby. For a moment, he thought it was a car backfiring on the empty highway beyond the parking lot. But then came the silence, too sudden, too heavy. Room 6 was on the second floor, tucked into the far corner, with a perfect view of the neon sign buzzing in the darkness. It had been rented to a man named David Lorne, a 34-year-old traveling salesman from Ohio. He had checked in late that evening, carrying nothing but a small duffel bag and a tired smile. When the police arrived, summoned by the clerk's trembling voice on the 911 call, the door to room 6 was locked from the inside. There was no sign of forced entry. The only key, besides the one at the front desk, was still in the lock on the inside of the room. Through the thin curtain, Detective Aaron Cole could see a shape on the bed. A man lying on his side, motionless. When the maintenance man finally pried the door open, the air hit her first, stale, metallic, with a hint of burnt gunpowder. On the carpet, just beside the nightstand, lay the body of a woman in a red dress. Mid-30s, dark hair fanned across the floor like ink in water. A single bullet wound above her right eye. No weapon in sight. No signs of a struggle. And on the bed, just feet away, David Lorne sat upright, blinking in confusion. His voice was hoarse when he spoke. What's going on? Who is she? He claimed he had been asleep. Claimed he didn't know the woman. Claimed he had no idea how she'd even entered his room. The first officers on scene didn't buy it. They found no sign of entry from the balcony. The sliding door was locked. The bathroom window was too small for anyone to squeeze through. And yet, the woman's shoes were by the door, neatly placed. Detective Cole moved carefully through the room. There was a handbag on the table but no ID inside. Just a lipstick, a phone with no SIM card, and a folded scrap of paper with a string of numbers written in red ink. She asked David again if he recognized her. His hands shook as he ran them through his hair. No, I swear. I went to sleep around 11. I didn't hear anything until you people woke me up. The medical examiner confirmed the woman had been shot at close range, within 2 feet. The bullet had lodged in the wall behind her. But the angle didn't match a suicide, and the trajectory suggested the shooter had been standing directly in front of her. The oddest part? Every camera in the hallway was working, except the one pointed at David's door. At 1:47 a.m., the feed had gone black for exactly 6 minutes. When it returned, the door was still closed. Cole had seen cases with missing footage before, but never with a locked room element that made this much sense and no sense at all. She sat across from David in the motel's cramped breakfast area, now turned into a temporary interview room. His story didn't change. He'd come to town for a meeting, stopped at a diner, checked in, and gone to bed. No drinking, no visitors. "Do you own a gun, Mr. Lorne?" she asked. "No." "Ever see this woman before?" "No." And then, a detail he shouldn't have known. When she mentioned the number string found in the handbag, he looked up sharply. Was it 8 digits? Starting with a 4? Cole paused. "Why?" He swallowed hard. "Because I think I've seen that number before. It was written on a bathroom mirror in a bar in Cleveland last month. Same handwriting. Same red ink. That was the first thread, but it was thin. By morning, the victim was still unidentified. Fingerprints yielded nothing in the national database. Her phone was wiped clean with no recoverable data. Cole went over the CCTV footage again. In the hours before the blackout, several guests walked past room 6. An elderly couple, a trucker in a baseball cap, a woman carrying takeout. Nothing unusual. But in the minute before the camera cut out, a shadow appeared at the far end of the hallway. Tall, thin, moving fast. The moment the figure reached the edge of the frame, the feed went dead. When it returned 6 minutes later, the hallway was empty. Forensics found no gunshot residue on David's hands or clothes. No prints on the doorknob except his own. No usable DNA on the victim beyond her own. By the second day, whispers had started among the officers. Maybe David really was telling the truth. Maybe someone had entered and left through a way they hadn't yet found. Cole refused to believe in impossible crimes. There was always a way in, and a way out. It was late afternoon when the desk clerk came forward with something she'd been too scared to say earlier. A week before the murder, a man had come into the motel asking for room 6 specifically. When told it was booked, he'd left without giving his name, but she remembered one thing. He had a faint scar running from his left ear down to his jawline. Cole's gut tightened. She'd seen that description before, buried in an unsolved case file from 3 years ago, a case involving another locked room shooting in a motel 2 states over. The victim in that case had also been an unidentified woman in a red dress. The shooter had never been found. The detail that stuck with her? In the first case, just like now, the only thing left behind was a scrap of paper with a string of numbers in red ink. By 9 p.m., the motel was quiet again. The forensics team had packed up. David was being held, though there wasn't enough to charge him. Cole sat alone in room 6, staring at the door. She imagined the woman's final moments, someone she knew, maybe trusted, stepping closer. The flash of the muzzle. The heavy silence after. Her phone buzzed with a new message from the lab. The ballistic markings on the bullet matched the unsolved case from 3 years ago. 2 murders. 2 locked rooms. Same killer. Same calling card. Cole's blood ran cold. Because the last line of the report wasn't about the bullet, it was about the motel's guest log. Room 6 had been booked 2 weeks in advance. Paid for in cash. And the person who booked it had used David Lorne's name. The man in the scar. Detective Erin Cole didn't sleep that night. She stayed in her office, leaning over the crime board until the city lights outside faded to the gray of early morning. 2 murders years apart. Same bullet pattern. Same cryptic red numbers. And now, the same name used to book the rooms. Whoever had set up David Lorne hadn't just picked him at random. By 6 a.m., Cole was on the phone with the manager of the Blue Harbor Motel in Pennsylvania, the site of the first locked room killing. She asked him about the guest who'd stayed 3 years ago. He hesitated before speaking. I remember him. Paid in cash. Didn't talk much. He had this scar, ran right down his jaw. Cole felt the hair on her neck stand. The scar again. She dug deeper into both crime scenes. In Pennsylvania, there'd been no sign of entry, no murder weapon found. In both cases, the hallway cameras cut out for exactly 6 minutes before returning. In both, the victim was a woman in a red dress, unidentified, carrying nothing traceable. The FBI had briefly looked into the first murder but dropped it due to lack of leads. Cole wasn't about to let this one go cold too. At 9:12 a.m. her phone rang. It was Officer Ramirez from the Rosewood Inn. You need to come down here. Now. When she arrived, the front desk clerk was pale and shaking. This came in the mail. No return address. She slid an envelope across the counter. Inside was a single Polaroid photograph. The image was grainy, but Cole's breath caught in her throat. It was David Lorne, sleeping in the motel bed from the night of the murder. His face was lit by the faint glow of the hallway light spilling in from the crack under the door. The timestamp in the corner read 1:52 a.m., 3 minutes after the hallway camera cut out. Someone had been inside that room. Cole rushed to the holding cell where David was being kept. She slid the photo across the table. His eyes widened. You're saying, someone was standing in my room taking pictures of me while she was lying there dead? Or before she was dead, Cole replied quietly. He swallowed hard. Detective, I told you, I didn't know her. But that number, it's been following me. I've seen it scratched into bathroom stalls, on the back of receipts, even on a sticky note someone slipped into my windshield wiper. I thought it was just random. What's the number mean to you? She pressed. I don't know, he said, shaking his head. But every time I see it, I get this feeling, like someone's watching me. Cole ordered a trace on the number. It wasn't a phone number. It wasn't a bank account. But when a tech ran it through an old, seldom-used database, something came back. A case file number from an unsolved murder in 1998. A murder that happened in another motel, with the same MO. This was no random series of killings. It was a chain, one that stretched back decades. That afternoon, Cole interviewed an ex-con named Brian Cutter, who'd once run with a burglary crew that targeted hotels. When she mentioned the scarred man, Cutter's eyes flickered. Yeah, I know him. Or knew him. Name's Jack Merritt. He's a ghost, no fixed address, no ID. He picks a target, stalks them for weeks, and when he moves, people disappear. We used to call him the janitor. Why? Because he cleans up. No prints, no mess, no trace. And if you're in the wrong place, wrong time, he mimed a gun to his head. Cole went back to the Rosewood Inn that evening, walking the hallway to room 6 over and over. There had to be a way in. She checked the ceilings, the floorboards, the gaps between walls. And then she saw it, a small maintenance hatch behind a vending machine halfway down the hall. It led to a narrow crawl space running above the rooms. In theory, someone could move along the rafters, drop into a room through a loose ceiling panel, and leave the same way, all without the door ever being touched. The hatch was dusty except for a single clean handprint. At 11:43 p.m., a tip came in from a gas station security guard 10 miles away. A man with a jawline scar had been seen buying cigarettes and a disposable camera. The timestamp? The night of the murder, 2:30 a.m. Minutes after the hallway footage at the motel came back online. Cole's pulse quickened. She had a name, a method, and now a sighting. But Jack Merritt was slippery. There were no current records, no known vehicles. Still, she had something he didn't know. She'd ordered officers to quietly pull all the CCTV feeds from nearby streets that night. And in one blurry clip she saw him, walking under a flickering streetlight, carrying a small duffel bag. By the next morning, David Lorne was released. There was no evidence to hold him. But Cole wasn't reassured. She knew Jack Merritt wasn't done. People like him didn't just stop. And she was right. 2 days later, a motel 3 towns over reported another shooting. A locked room. A woman in a red dress. And taped to the inside of the door, the same number in red ink. Only this time, something else was left behind, a second Polaroid. It was Detective Aaron Cole, standing in the Rosewood Inn hallway, looking directly into the camera. The timestamp read tomorrow.